What's up, everybody? It is Monday, January 20th, aka Martin Luther King Day, and so that's why we have a special early edition of the Fantasy Insiders TV show presented by DraftDay.com, our wonderful sponsors there at DraftDay. They've been picking up a lot of steam with this whole live-based or draft-based game that they do live. So I will talk a little more about that this week. It looks like I am running solo, and it's not really Grant or Davis's fault because we just kind of decided it last night. I got a message from Davis like 2 hours ago saying we still doing the show, and then I woke up like an hour later and said yes. So between that 2 hours, there's no telling where Davis has been. So excuse just the rushed nature of this, and we're just going to talk about some of the games today. It was pretty cool last night just thinking about games starting at noon Central Time, because that means that you get to kind of enjoy the whole day, like space it out. So if you're burping a kid, whatever, you can have your game on as well. We might have some call-ins later on in the show if people want to call in, but let's talk about some of the games going on tonight, and some of the games really that you might want to target, and also some of the news that you might want to know about when making your team. I guess probably the biggest news for today is this Kemba Walker being out, where they are playing the Raptors at the lowest scoring game per Vegas. However, Ramon Sessions is an excellent value where he is kind of in that lower to middle salary because he's going to get a lot of run as the new point guard there. So that would be kind of the biggest news for the day. There's also some really fun games. This Pacers and Warriors game is pretty much a pick'em, and it's in Golden State. It's going to be a really fun game to watch, and also maybe a fun game to take a guy like Paul George. As far as Steph Curry in this game, I'm okay with people taking Steph because we've seen the Pacers play good defense. However, at home and for George Hill is not like a shutdown defender, so I'm not staying away from any of the I'm not staying away from Steph Curry in this Warriors game. Now, David Lee, I might stay away from, but not Steph Curry. And on the other side, Paul George, I think, is going to have a decent game. And, coming off a pretty big game, pretty big second half, and pretty big performance also by Hibbert with the blocks, he also could be a pretty good value. But overall, that's just the more entertaining game of the night. The top game is going to be this Rockets-Blazers game. They've got an over-under of 218, and it's in Houston, a 2-point spread, 110 to 108. That means lots of fantasy points, and so that's going to be a really fun game to and it's got a lot of players that are rosterable. One of the guys that has kind of come on of late is a Mr. Terrence Jones, who, I keep on waiting for him to kind of have a bad game, and it seems like when everybody's healthy, he's getting a lot of rebounds. In this game, I think he's a guy to keep an eye on, but LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be probably my top play for this game. So I think he's going to have a field day with this Houston team. So this is going to be a fun game to watch. Also, something to note for people that have Jeremy Lin kind of high up on their projections because this is a high-paced game and he is presumably the starter. He burned me. He burned me bad on Saturday, and it's because he didn't get any fourth quarter run. He's been getting benched in there in Houston, and so Jeremy Lin's kind of off the table for me. I'm not going to take him. His defense is pretty bad. Now Damian Lillard, I like his price tag, and I like him going up against. He's a guy that I feel comfortable in playing against this Houston team. But Jeremy Lin, I'm going to stay away from. The next game is this Mavs-Cavs game. And let's see if Davis is on. We'll give old Davis a call. This Mavs-Cavs game, it's going to be the second highest scoring game. And you have some news on Jose Calderon. I don't think we've heard yet, but going to be just an overall fun game to watch. Oh my gosh. Look who we have here.
What's up, everybody?
Hold on. Please hold on. So you can see this guy. Wow.
Yeah, guys, I've been in the bar a lot this last week. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Were you at the bar on a Sunday night?
Well, we don't have school today, and everyone just got back into town, so yeah, I was at the bar last night.
Well, at least you're honest. That's what Waffles said. He said, thanks for not lying. At least you're honest. Even though, I don't think there's any way you can get around not... Well,
I know about basketball though.
Yes.
I set lineups last night while I was there. I'm ready to talk about hoops.
Okay, well, you just missed us talking about Kemba Walker and then the Pacers-Warriors game and then the Rockets and Blazers game. That's all you've missed.
All right, cool. Well, I'm sorry I was late, guys. I was all set up. I was up at 9 or whatever my time, and then I didn't know what. I fell back asleep. It was bad. It was all bad.
Oh, man. This is what makes live TV so awesome.
Yeah. Shit.
So, when you were setting those lineups last night in the bar, I still would kind of like to talk to you a little more about that. When you're in the bar setting lineups, what does that look like? What type of establishment are you in?
I don't know, just like any Midwestern bar, dude. It's just you got a bunch of high tables with big chairs and terrible 90s music playing. I don't know. But I was just you messaged me about doing the show, and I was like, well, I need to figure out what's going on. I'm not just going to wake up and do the show without knowing what's happening. So I had to get on FanDuel and look at everything.
Your voice is
yeah, it's the worst.
It's sexier than normal. Can you just look at the camera and say, "Hello, I'm Davis Maddock, and you're watching Fantasy Insiders TV."
Hello, I'm Davis Maddock, and you're watching Fantasy Insiders TV.
Mr. Tuttle, make sure that we know where that clip is, because that's certainly going. So we've talked about the Blazers-Rockets game. Now the Mavs-Cavs game. We have Kyrie Irving at home, but you also have Monte and Dirk. Monte he did not have a good game and a decent matchup on Saturday. Your thoughts on your boy Monte tonight in Cleveland?
They just got super blown out when they played Portland. So normally Monte scores a lot of his points in the fourth quarter because that's when he takes over as point guard, primary ball handler for them, and they just never got to that point. Yeah. So as a result of that, his game was a lot worse.
You also have the whole Shane Larkin, Harris, Jose Calderon stuff. I think I'm just staying away. Agree or disagree?
Agree. Yeah, that's in my initial looking at my lineup, I don't have any players from that game.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Um, as far as anybody else in this game, do you have him? Or do you
No,
have
I
any
mean,
player
I
other players from this game? I guess I should say.
no, I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge's price tag is getting pretty high, and I just don't really like to play him all that much. Anyways, Harden's back to being appropriately priced, and then for the price that you're getting, for the are we? Am I talking about the wrong game right now? I was just thinking Portland.
No, yeah, we're talking about Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas,
Because,
Cleveland. Okay, I'm
yeah,
definitely not playing anyone in this game.
no one in this Dallas Cavs game, huh?
No, I mean, I never play Dirk, and then at point guard, I think there are better ways you can go than spending your money on Kyrie today.
See, but there's some places where he's shooting guard eligible or just guard eligible where I think he makes a fine play.
Would you rather play Kyrie or Dwayne Wade?
Uh, that's a good question. I
Because
would,
right now, I have some exposure to Wade, and I like never play him. But like, there are a couple projection systems that really like him versus this Hawks team.
yeah, I'd probably take Kyrie though.
Okay, I just feel like Kyrie is a little bit volatile of a player, I guess. But he's better. He's more consistent at home though.
Yeah, and this is going to be a high scoring game, a second high scoring game of the night. So definitely, definitely someone I'm going to have exposure to. Ramon Sessions, we talked about him. I think he's probably the guy that is going to be the most owned for me. And I think he's going to be decently owned across the industry. I'm just looking over this article that Dave Loughran posted on FantasyInsiders.com for the day, and he also has John Wall. John Wall going up against the Sixers. Is that just like an automatic play for you?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do when I set lineups on FanDuel is you can click on the things up top and just gate players from those games, and I click on the Philly game and I go to their opponent and I slot in as many as the opposing players as possible. Just like when I start doing rough draft lineups, and I don't see any way that you cannot play John Wall tonight. I mean, he's got what, like a 40-point floor, probably something like that. If the Sixers keep it close, ish.
Yeah, I mean it's not that big of a spread. I think it's like 8 points or something. So it's not or 10 points, 8 or 10 points. So I mean there is the possibility of a blowout, but you also have it. I mean it's John Wall, and on the other side, I think Carter Williams is also a decent play. I mean Wall's defense is not his strong suit at all. I think he can get some
Aren't you
steals,
a
but
little
so can
worried
Carter
that the
Williams.
league has just started to figure him out on offense? Because I think I'm sort of concerned that he came really hot out of the gate, and now that there's a bunch of film out on him, that teams are sort of figuring out what he can and can't do, and they're able to be limiting him pretty effectively.
Yeah, as someone else posted about Roten being out. I mean, I think that aside from the efficiency sites, I think MCW is a fine play tonight. I mean, this is going to be an up and down game, and so while he's probably not going to be like my top choice, you just look at his price tag. I mean, 7,500 on DraftKings. It's not that bad.
No, that's a pretty big discount for him.
Um, so just looking at where his price tag is, I would probably go for him. Now, I think it was it Booker that went out with an injury for Washington.
Yeah, he got banged up, and so Nene played 35 minutes after basically being a bench player for the last couple weeks. So yeah, and he's 6,300 on FanDuel, which is that's a super bargain for a starting power forward versus Philly.
Yeah. So Nene is going to be a guy that I'll probably gravitate towards. What about Bradley Beal for this team?
He is in my cash game lineup right now. My
Oh,
my
that's scary.
No, I know, but here's my thinking. First of all, he's cheaper. He's cheaper than Jimmy Butler, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, Jimmy Butler! He plays so many minutes. He does all these things. He has not had over 28 fantasy points since Dang left, other than the triple overtime game. So I would rather do the upside play with Beal than go with like a pretty blah play in Jimmy Butler. That's my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm on the same page as far as Nene, Wall, even Ariza,
It's
even Webster and Gortat. I just think that Bill is. He did get 30 minutes of run last game. I just think he's kind of a risk.
Well, of course he's a risk. But in solid matchups, he just has to get a shot going a little bit, and it's Philly. It's like at the end of the day, you're gonna be like, damn, I really like. You've never. How many times have you ever been like, wow, I wish I wouldn't have played that player against Philadelphia?
There's been a few times.
I get not for me. For more often, it's been like, wow, I should have played more players against this team.
Right. What I'm saying is it's not like a done deal. Like it's not
Yeah,
for
he's
me.
he's the one where it's a debate. I will agree with you there.
I just think for a cash game, he's really risky. But I mean that takes some big balls and more power to you for playing him. As far as those other guys, I mean, I really do think that for me, those other four guys are pretty safe plays. Especially like just looking at some of these sites like DraftKings. I mean, everyone but Bill for me is in play. You also had Webster the other night who went crazy, and his price tag was very cheap on Draft Street. To checking it right now, unfortunately, it has gone up a little bit to 9,000. But again, he is he's not a bad play on Draft Street, but I would definitely rather have Wall and Nene and even Gortat for under 14K at the center position. The other guy at the center position that I'm looking at is Joakim Noah. He's just getting tons of minutes, and he's producing in those minutes. Thoughts on rostering Joakim?
Yeah, I mean, if you're giving me him or Dwight Howard at the same price, I'm definitely going Noah. Like, Noah's in should be like across the board one of the most owned players. It should be Wall and Noah, and then like you build around from those guys. I think.
No Carmelo?
I love Carmelo. I love Carmelo, but like I would rather play Noah than Carmelo, and they're super super close though. But you can't really afford to play him, Wall, and Carmelo. If you can, if someone out there can find a way to do that, shoot me a link on Twitter or something. Help me.
What about the Booze Cruise? I feel like since Grant is not here, we have to mention uh,
Yeah.
Carmelo and the Booze Cruise because I know that those are two guys that wants to he would want to roster just because it's Grant and those are like his two main man crushes for daily fantasy. Everyone has man crushes for daily fantasy, and his
Mhm.
is definitely Carmelo and the Booze Cruise. And you
Oh,
kind of have a thing for
absolutely.
Carmelo as well. But thoughts on Carlos Boozer tonight?
I like Boozer. I really think that this is a good matchup for him. Ryan Kelly's is playing a lot of the minutes at the four now, which means that there's going to be even more rebounds available for power forwards and centers playing against the Lakers because they won't have Jordan Hill or Pau Gasol at the four in there, and so Gasol will be at the center position. So I think this is a really good spot for Boozer, and his price tag on FanDuel 5.9. That is super cheap. That's like basically the same as playing like getting the same sort of salary relief as if he was out and you're playing Taj instead.
Yeah. Um, he's a pretty good price on just looking at our sponsor Draft Day, and he is 10.6. So against LA, we've seen how bad that their interior defense can be. So Boozer, and Noah, both in play for me. And then it's just like play play some Chicago players and play some Washington players for really your core group, and then
Yeah,
mix in
and
Session.
it sucks that some days it's that easy to set lineups, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, you got to play the optimal plays at an optimal price, and so there's gonna be a lot of overlap today, I think.
Yeah, just looking at draft day. I mean, you have Ariza at 10.6, Nene at 10.3, um, Mark Gasol at 10.3, who's a decent play, Thaddeus Young at 10.2. Like, those are all, and then, of course, Boozer at 10.6. Those are all, like,
You like Marc Gasol?
I think for 10.3 against the Hornets, like, as long as he can get over 30 minutes, I do like him. I
I
said
mean,
Hornets.
he played 30 minutes versus the Kings and posted a very Marc Gasol line.
Yeah. So he would probably be him and Nene are probably my top center there on draft day. And since Gasol is only eligible at the center position, I'd be comfortable in using him at the center, Nene at the power forward, and then going Thad Young or Boozer at the other power forward. And that would be a pretty solid lineup. But yeah, if you're asking me who do I like, Gasol or Gortat tonight at around the same price on draft day, I would probably say Gasol.
I kind of hate playing Marcin Gortat because he's such like a soft Euro that like you'll literally sometimes get a game where he'll score like 14 points but have like one rebound.
Yeah.
I hate playing Gortat. I've actually found myself really paying up at the center position a lot, like over the last like week and a half or 2 weeks of games. Instead of like really like value hunting, just like on FanDuel, just being like, okay, I'll pay up for Cousins. Like, I don't mind doing that at all.
Yeah, well, last night you would have gotten kind of burned by that.
I got a bunch of questions on Twitter yesterday, and I was just like, I'm not playing. Like, I played the early slate because I really liked that I loved all the Raptors because I love when a slow team plays a fast team. But I got a bunch of questions. Like, I on Draft Street I played one GPP. On days I something Dink taught me is that like I was like bitching to him about a slate once, and he was like, no one's making you play, right? And I was like, that is a great point. And so I just didn't play last night.
And that's it's an excellent point. It's a point that one of the co-founders of Fantasy Insiders, Steve, we just call him Steve, but he's the programmer, but he's also like a big fantasy nut. I mean, that's really the only thing I can describe him as is a big fantasy just maniac. And he, at the beginning of NBA season, he'd be like complaining on a Sunday or a Thursday where he wasn't winning. And I said, you have to realize that you're just playing for the heck of it, just to have something to cheer for if you're playing on 3-game, 2-game, even 4-game slates. I will say this. I will take a little bit of an aside to say I had a pretty sick beat last night. And just to kind of rewind past that.
Did the Ty Lawson rebound get you at the end of the game?
It didn't. It's almost like worse than that. So before that, on late Saturday night, now that I've kind of got this crazy schedule with the baby and everything, I'm up at all hours of the night, and I see the after hours crew, I think, as Tommy calls them, but Tommy G, CJ, Knapp, K Cannon, all those guys talking about how they were posting games on FanDuel and one UCROR.
I was at the bar and I missed out on all of those games.
One UCROR wasn't taking any. So it was like the Condia one UCROR robot on FanDuel was broken for a time. So they were testing it, and I thought, it might be fun just to kind of roll with this crew. So I posted a 535 and a 270 and a 109, and it like stayed there until like 30 minutes later when we awoke the giant. We're talking about like it kind of being like Sandlot.
And then Condia just snatched all of them.
It wasn't Condia, it was his alter ego, one UCROR. So, Yeah, but so he snatched all of them, and I thought that I kind of had it in the bag at halftime of last night's game because he was finished, and I had Dragic, Green, Chandler, and Fry left. And let me just see if you can see that. What happened was they had all the reserves for Phoenix just went off. They just could not miss. Ish Smith, the Marcus Morris, Barbosa, all these scrubs. And so Dragic played 24 minutes. Green played 22 minutes. All I needed was like point 0.2 points. None of those guys played in the fourth quarter. Wilson Chandler did play. He took like a 3 at the end that like I thought it was life or death and he missed it. But that was my bad beat. Like I was pretty disgusted by that. Because
You and I yesterday scored 1.6 different.
Did you score higher than me?
I did. I did score higher.
Well, then you would have beat one UCore. I mean, I was pretty happy.
This was the morning slate though. I will not play a 4-game slate.
Yeah. Well, I mean it's smart by you. I mean, honestly, it is. It's smart.
Have we done? Oh, we didn't talk about Ryan Kelly though for the Chicago game.
Let's talk about him. I mean, I had him in my early roster slate yesterday. The coach said he was going to get more minutes, and more minutes he did, and had a pedestrian kind of first 12 minutes, but then really heated up in the second half. Do you like Kelly tonight against the Bulls?
I love Ryan Kelly against the Bulls. I love Ryan Kelly at this price tag all day. He's like I talked to this on the show before though. Like, but when I went to the Thunder Lakers game, he was like one of the only players who was like active and engaged, and like I don't know. I just think I guess I'm just like apparently adopting all the Lakers role players as like my boys. But like Ryan Kelly is totally my boy, and I love stretch fours. And someone in the chat just asked about Snell as a punt play. I don't know his draft street price, but my initial thinking is nah. Snell is like a .6 fantasy point per minute type player.
Yeah, I'm not on board with the Snell play at all. We have Alex in the chat wanting us to talk about Gerald Henderson more. I've just been on record saying
yeah, Dave hates Gerald Henderson.
I'm not a big Gerald Henderson fan. I played him a few times when the injuries meant that he was going to get 40-plus minutes, and I get that he's going to be taking more of a role in this offense, but really Sessions, I mean, he likes to score. He's a scoring point guard, and so I almost think that Henderson's value, he kind of stays the same. Al Jefferson has been going crazy as of late. Gerald Henderson for me is he's just not one of those guys that get all the other peripherals when you talk about steals, blocks, assists. So I'm staying away from Gerald Henderson.
And if you're talking about the early game, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. just got injured. Like, I might rather downgrade and go to Shumpert rather than try and pay up for somebody at shooting guard.
Yeah, I'm fine. And I'm fine with that. So, where did you see the news about Hardaway?
Honestly, all of the basketball writers that I follow on Twitter are like Knicks writers, and so like every time something bad happens to the Knicks, it's like my entire timeline just like gets all of the sads. So my timeline is sad a lot, obviously. And someone tweeted out about him hurting his ankle. Let me get on Roto World real quick and see if he's like all better now.
Yeah, there's a wrist injury.
There we go. There, wrist. My bad. Wrist, ankle, whatever.
But he played through it, and played 11 minutes with 6 points, 1 rebound, and 2 threes.
Well, I was wrong then. I still would play Shump though. I still don't mind playing Shump. Gerald Henderson is like a really athletic guy, but like it's really hard for him to. He just like is not a very great shooter, and he's not going to get you. I mean, everyone saw that the video of him trying to pass to someone and hitting some poor lady in the head. Like, he's just not a very skilled offensive player.
Yeah, and like This would be probably the only place I would really take him for cash games because there's not a lot of flexibility there. But Bradley Beal at 5,500, I'd rather have him than Gerald Henderson at 5,900. So we're on the same page there. And I'd rather have Butler.
Same page with Beal. Very nice.
And I'd rather have Butler for a couple hundred more. I mean, Butler's just getting tons of minutes, and minutes equals opportunity. Let's see. We have some people talking about Joe Johnson. He's not even. Honestly, he's not even on my radar tonight.
Yeah,
is he on yours?
No. I mean, like that's like a prime guy that I would never ever play. Like a shooter who is more expensive than he should be against a very slow team who rebounds well. Like, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah. We have some questions. Henderson and Ane or Joe and Tristan. I like Nene, so I guess I like Nene more than Tristan, so I guess I'd go the first combo if you're forcing me to. P. Fifey.
That's Adam Pfeiffer. He's another writer. He's a good guy. You guys should give him a follow on Twitter at @APfeifferRS.
Yeah, he does some good work for Rant Sports. So he said, when you guys play multiple games, what do you do with lineups? Spread it out and play different guys, or roll with similar lineups? This is kind of like a strategy thing. It just depends on what games you're playing. I am not opposed to hedging, especially with a limited bankroll. Now, I know guys, a lot of the higher stakes guys, like our own Mr. Tuttle, talks about he doesn't like to hedge.
I don't ever hedge, for what it's worth, and my role is a lot smaller than you guys, but I don't ever hedge. I play the same guys.
Right. Well, you were hedging a little bit on Draft Street at one point.
What are you talking about?
Like playing, you were playing a couple of different lineups in cash games, and we had this talk.
Well, it wasn't so much hedging as just being like indecisive and trying to like cover up my tracks and be like, well, I got to get exposure to all of these guys. Playing one lineup makes you better at DFS because it forces you to really improve your projection skills and improve your decision-making skills when it comes to lineup construction, because you have to make hard choices every single day.
So here's my thing with hedging. Like, if you have that one, it depends on like what your feel for the roster. If you have just an amazing lineup, roll that out and only that, and that's the only thing you have to cheer for. However, if you can't decide between like two players, like if you're having a question like a Joe and Tristan versus Gerald and Nene, and they're both good options, it's a bad example because
those are not good
no
options.
offense, Colin, but I don't think those are good options. But if you have an example of that, like go ahead and play like 2/3 with your number one lineup and 1/3 with your other lineup. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. Really, when you talk about multiple games and multiple lineups, the best thing is to use those in the GPP. So, like, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before, but my strategy when I play like 3 tournaments, and for me, like 3 is kind of that magic number. So what I'll do is have a main lineup, and then I'll make 2 alternate lineups that have guys that have high ceilings, and if they can cash high in a cash game, I've had some nights where my alternate lineup did so well in a tournament that it offset for a terrible main lineup. So that's just kind of
the best thing is when you just throw your cash lineup into a tourney, and then your tourney lineup cashes, so you get the tourney cash, and then obviously if your tournament lineup is cashing, you're making all the money in the 50-50s.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I did that on your account when you were having a child.
Yes. Man, that was some when you talk about having a kid and then like realizing that you're signed up for a few games, and oh man, that was
scrambling, man.
So stressful. So stressful. Let's talk about some of the other games going on today. You have the Clips and the Pistons. Clips got like just kind of destroyed by injuries on Saturday. Collison, Reddick, there was someone else Who was?
I don't know. I literally, other than Blake Griffin, just do not like the Clippers. Like, I just don't like them as a team. I don't pay attention.
Okay, well, this is going to be a fun game, so I think you do need to pay attention because I think
Well, of course I
Collison
do.
and Redick are both decent plays tonight.
You think JJ Redick is you? Would you rather play him or Beal for the money?
Beal for sure.
Okay, all right. Because I don't know if I've ever rostered JJ Redick like ever because he is the definition of like just a shooter. Like he'll go out there and get you -1 some nights,
He takes charges like no other.
which can turn into fouls pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden you have a shooter with 3 fouls in the first half.
True that. On the other side, I mean, it's going to be a fast-paced game. I think DeAndre Jordan is a decent play. And on the opposite side, you've got Andre Drummond. So DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond. It's kind of weird to say both those guys back-to-back. Both those guys are like a low-floor, high-ceiling type play. But Blake Griffin, I like DeAndre, and I like Andre. Especially like in GPPs where they have very high upside. I mean, I could see DeAndre just kind of going off in this game.
Yeah, I could. I think that's probably going to happen.
Alex says they'll foul each other out, and yeah, that's kind of one of the risks when taking one of these guys is that they're very prone to get those 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes and sit for the rest of the half. Which
did anyone see the video of the worst Josh Smith possession ever from the game the other night? He takes the ball up the court as point forward, tries to dribble it behind his back, hits his point guard, hits Brandon Jennings with the behind the back dribble, picks it up off the floor, goes up the floor, still dribbling, pretends to be a point guard for a second and does the thing where you put your hand up and tell everyone to move and then just launches like an off-balance 3 with like 16 seconds left on the shot clock. That's the Detroit offense that you're buying into.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not... He's... For where his price tag is, he's not really on my radar.
No. He's a total price point play. Like once he on FanDuel, like once he gets above like 7.3, and once he gets above like 14 or 13 on Draft Street, there's no playing him.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to some questions real quick. Let's see. We had Pearson Mello or Ariza and Aldridge. For me, it's the second duo, and you chose the first duo.
Yeah, just because I want Mello in there.
Yeah, and see, I like Aldridge tonight, and I like Ariza. So, I mean, I would put money on that. That's how confident I am in the second versus the first.
Okay.
So, Nick, there you have it. You've got 2 options to choose from. But I'm pretty passionate about the Ariza Aldridge side. And not just because of the alliteration. You feel me, Davis? You feel me?
I feel you, Sean.
Let's see. Thoughts on playing 4Wiz for cash games?
Yup. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a small rotation, so especially with Booker being out with injury, it kind of takes one guy away from that. You know, you're going to have to choose on who you play, and like if you leave out a Webster or a Gortat, like just know that they could go off and you could get burned, or you could get burned by a blowout. But I mean, I don't have a problem at all with playing those guys. I mean, that can be said for really any game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We have a question. Does anyone else agree that Durant, Stevenson...
That bar Durant Stevenson is the funnest player to watch the NBA. I disagree with that because Steph Curry's still a thing.
Yeah.
There's no one more fun in the entire NBA to watch than hot Steph Curry.
Someone asked about Kendall Marshall. Well, it's Jordan. Jordan is that someone. He's not getting any love from me. I'll just go ahead and tell you.
Not against Chicago.
Yeah. This is going to be
it's like the anti thing where like you're slowing the pace down that like made him like fantasy valuable.
Yeah, and Fifey talks about IT2. I love Isaiah Thomas. Love him. Sessions or Evans on DraftKings? For me, it's Sessions because you know what you're going to get. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. So that's definitely where I would go with that matchup. Let's see. You have Wes Johnson or Meeks.
Yeah, I just typed in the chat. I'm probably avoiding the Lakers outside of Kelly. Like I just don't think the value is there because they're actually, if you look at all of their price tags, they're all at a high right now because Nick Young's suspension kind of pulled some of them up. Like Meeks is like 6K, and that's like a relatively difficult value threshold for him to meet consistently.
Nene or Boozer.
I mean, I have Boozer right now, but it's really just a matter of being able to save like a little bit extra money. I really like both of them, though. I would like encourage you to try and get as much exposure to both of those guys today as you can.
Yeah, for me it would. For me, it would depend on. The site is DraftKings. So yeah, if it's DraftKings, I would probably.
I haven't looked at DK yet.
If well, I mean, it's just not a non-efficiency site. So with DraftKings, I would probably go Nene and feel okay about that.
But on Draft Street, you would prefer Boozer.
Well,
Because I'm working on Draft Street right now.
what are their price points?
Boozer is like 600 cheaper. No, 400 cheaper.
Boozer's 1,300. Nene's 13.3. I would go with Nene over Boozer just because the high-paced game, the whole Booker injury that we talked about.
Yeah, and worth noting, Ariza is priced pretty conservatively too, 13.9.
Yeah, no, Ariza is like one of my top plays for tonight. This is like his type of game.
Hey, everyone! You always want Dave to give out picks. There you go. There you go. He just gave out a pick. He said this is one of my top plays. He didn't let me or Grant talk about it.
And I said Sessions too. I said he's going to be probably my highest owned player tonight.
Well, yeah. I always love when I get into a double up and a player is 100% owned. It doesn't happen very often. It happened with Darren Collison like the first game after the Chris Paul injury. He was 100% owned in the 109 double up on Draft Street.
Same price. Amini.
Amini.
Still early. Aminu or Swaggy both seem like they're in bad matchups, but should get lots of playing time. For me, I'd go probably Aminu if you're forcing me to pick one.
Yeah, you guys already know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're gonna say Swaggy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say because he's got. I mean, Aminu might go off for like 12 rebounds. That's going off for Aminu is like 12 rebounds. Going off for Swags is like 25 points, like 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals.
Yeah, I just think Aminu could get with all the injuries they've had. I definitely think that he could pile up the stats tonight. We've had some questions about Evan Turner. Evan Turner is a decent play, especially where you have to get locked into those positions. So he is a fine play, I think, on FanDuel. He is a decent play on Draft Street, where he's under 13K, and he could have, a 30-point game, 31-point game, and reach value. Now, on some of the other sites, I would probably just stay away from. But on those two sites, I think he's fine. It's just he wouldn't be a top play unless you're being pigeonholed to that small forward position, which, as you know, Davis, is an awkward position to be in.
It does suck. I missed this. What do you think about Lynn tonight versus Portland? I know Beverly is going to be back, but that's like a sick matchup for Lynn, right?
Yeah, so I talked about it while you were sleeping. Jeremy Lin is going to be a guy that I'm avoiding because I had him on Saturday night, but he's been in the coach's doghouse lately.
Yeah, he has.
Didn't play the whole fourth quarter, especially with Beverly coming back tonight. I know people are going to see this matchup and see the high over-under and want to play him, and maybe even projections have him as like a top play, but I just can't trust him.
Like the projection systems like him.
Yeah, when you have the risk of not playing the whole fourth quarter and only getting like 25 minutes or less, I just would stay away from. So that's That's my take on it.
Okay.
LeBron James, yay or nay for you?
Nope. Get it out of here. He didn't meet value against Philly. He's on the never again list. He's gonna have to put up like a string of like Carmelo games for like a week where he's just going off for me to do. And he did the whole thing where he was like, "Oh no, look at the stats I'm gonna put up," and they lost by 15 to the Wizards.
Yeah. I can't believe you just put him on the never again list. I mean, that seems like hyperbole there.
No, and so Jordan and I talk a lot about daily fantasy basketball. And that night against Philly, he was like, "Davis, don't do this, don't do it." And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna do it. It's Philly." And then like he hasn't met value in like 2014 yet. He like hasn't paid off his price tag yet.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. On a night like this where there are actually real options at small forward and you're not being forced into taking him or Durant, you can't do it to yourself.
Yeah, and it's different because Durant is just putting up insane numbers. And
Yeah, he's putting the team on his back, and LeBron is just cruising. He's chilling.
yeah, he's so hot right now. So we had someone ask about any really cheap plays. Guess those would be kind of like the GPP plays. You mentioned Shump.
Ryan Kelly is still only 5.4 on Draft Street, so he's in my cash game lineup.
Yeah, and Sessions is that guy. For
Sessions,
me,
and Brian Roberts is 7.6. I know they're playing Memphis, but that's super cheap for a starting point guard, regardless of matchup.
yeah, and he's like 3.9 on DK. So like Roberts is another guy. I mean, all you need really are two cheap guys like Sessions and Roberts, and then you can pretty much go with who you want. And
I'm going so anti everything you and Dink have taught me about daily fantasy sports right now with my cash game lineup on Draft Street.
is it Stars and Scrubs?
It has Ryan Kelly, Ramon Sessions, and Brian Roberts on it. So
Okay,
yeah.
so just to be like Dink and I have like kind of different takes on this. I am way more of a Stars and Scrubs guy than he is. And you just have to know that I'm also a little bit riskier than Drew is,
Yeah.
riskier, sexier. He likes to kind of play it safe.
God, if anyone takes Dwayne Wade, or no, if anyone takes Joe Johnson for 13.9 on Draft Street, I will just be appalled. That is such a bad price tag for him. That's like when Jimmy Johns got up to 14K that one day.
Yeah. Jimmy Johns is a decent upside play. I mean, for cheap if you want to kind of fade all the other good upside plays. But
Yeah, I mean, if he gets to if he gets his 6 blocks in the fourth quarter like he's been doing, he'll be fine, I'm sure.
I'm telling you, I mean, he does. It's like in late in games, he has been getting. He like just gets all the stats.
Yeah, and there's no logical explaining it because it's not like a position shift where like that helps like Monte or like shooting guards who move to on the ball in the fourth quarter. Like it's just like it just happens. It's all happenstance.
Yeah. Just kind of looking around for more value plays. I think on our sponsor Draft Day, like there's not a ton of value plays tonight. It's all I think on Draft Day. You just want to get a nice balanced lineup. Just fruits, veggies, meats, protein. Just get them all in there, and just have a hope that what comes out the other end is very nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, sounds legit, I guess.
On FanDuel, really, Webster might be the guy, Boozer might be the guy, but I don't think there's like a lot of they're asking about Pat and Courtney Lee and
Just so everyone knows, the reason Pat played so much yesterday is that Jonas picked up 2 fouls about 3 minutes into that game versus the Lakers.
well, he still has been playing a lot, but he's on the second team, and I just can't. And he's not playing against the Lakers, so
Yeah.
I can't recommend him today especially against Charlotte, where it's just going to be a kind of a low scoring
Gross game, yeah.
Uh,
I did want to point out that Kirk Heinrich is in another really good matchup versus the Lakers and is much cheaper than DJ Augustine and actually played more minutes than Augustine. They're actually playing them together now, and moving Jimmy Butler to the three. That's like sort of their crunch time lineup is Heinrich, Augustine, Butler, Boozer, Noah. And I kind of like Heinrich more tonight, even for a little bit more expensive than I like Brian Roberts versus Memphis.
For sure. Let's go ahead and kind of wrap up the show. We'll discuss the rapid fire, and then we will take some last minute questions, and then let everybody get their lineups in because there's less than an hour until the games start. So again, just if you have the day off, I know there's a bunch of teachers that play daily fantasy. Like if you have the day off, this is like
dude. How does that work?
A great day for you.
How would you stay up on news and stuff all day?
Are you kidding me? Like PE teachers? Like,
okay, PE
at your desk?
Yeah.
It'd be like a dream job. Even like substituting, like being a substitute
I guess,
teacher.
Man, I haven't been in high school for a while. I just don't really remember what teachers are like in there.
A while, yeah. Yeah, you're
old.
It's
been 5 years, man.
You're so old. You're almost as old as Mr. Tuttle, who's a whole whopping 26. By the way, speaking of, happy birthday to Tuttle, who had his 26th birthday yesterday, and happy birthday to Drew Dinkmeyer, who turned 39 today.
Tuttle and I really did a number on each other on G-Chat the other night. We both just like talked each other out of like really good lineups on DraftKings. And we just conspired together for a lineup that got beaten by Condia.
Well, good for you.
It was awesome.
And I joke about Drew's age because he's not really 39.
I was about to be really surprised. There's no way he's that old.
No, he's 38. I lied. So. I actually think he's like 33 or 32. Papa Cub can tell us how old he is. Yeah, and Tuttle had a bad beat in the arena game the other night by 0.5. That is brutal.
That was the night that him and I talked about lineups.
Oh boy. Well, let's go ahead and get to this rapid fire. Melo or Aldridge?
Carmelo.
Give me Aldridge. By the way, I was 5 for 5 on Friday. So
everyone listen to Dave instead of me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Pretty much. Let's see. John Wall or Joakim Noah?
Oh, Scott is so mean right now.
Yep, this is a booby twat.
I'm gonna say Wall just because point guards versus Philly.
Agree. MCW versus Kyle Lowry.
Carter Williams.
Ditto. Varejao versus Ariza.
Ariza. That's pretty easy.
Ditto. Gasol versus Lee.
Pow. The usage rate is just so high right now.
Yeah. No, I'm down. I mean, this looks like it's going to be a fairly easy, at least 3 out of 5. So if you haven't yet, go over there and check out DraftDay. Just a really fun site. There you go. I'm going to make sure what I did last time is I put together like the lineup and then I forgot to press enter on the rapid fire max. So my 5 for 5 meant beans. Some people that played it, they did really well. But for me, all I got was
a stupid T-shirt.
All I got was a stupid T-shirt. We'll get to some lightning round of questions. Any love for Ellis? Sure. Nope. I mean, it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I don't hate him. If
let me ask you something: Monte or Dwayne Wade?
Well, it just depends on the site, but if everything is equal...
They're $100 different on FanDuel.
If everything is equal, I'd go Ellis over Wade, but you just have to know that I always fade Wade, and
I always
comes
fade
back.
Wade too, and Dink finally talked me into playing him, and he scored 8 points versus Philly. I was so butthurt. It was not good.
Oh man. So Beverly is starting. That coming from Jonathan Feigen. No real surprise there. But again, that kind of Terrence Jones is game time decision, just kind of rolling over the news. Well, that's kind of big.
Caspi pump play.
Well, Caspi already kind of in play because I think Garcia is going to be out for a week. So he's going to be out for a few more games. So
he's
Caspi,
getting all the backup wing minutes.
Yeah, Caspi is already going to be in play, but without Jones, maybe Smith. Man, I don't. It'd be interesting to see what they do there. Maybe move Parsons to the 4.
Well, that's what he came in the league as.
Yeah, but I mean, if anything, this just kind of reaffirms my position for LaMarcus Aldridge. He's going to have field day.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't like taking guys who are going to get guarded by Dwight, though.
Yeah, but I mean, you also have they could put Dwight on Aldridge, but you also, I mean, LMA is a power forward. So
but a lot of the times what they do is they have Dwight go on whoever the scorer is in the front court for the other team, and then have Lopez play the other guy. Which would obviously be problematic if it was Terrence Jones. If it's Greg Smith, not as problematic.
Yeah, that's why I think they might even go Parsons. I mean, they're not going to get Smith a ton of minutes, so they're going to play small. So that's why I don't think it's going to happen. So just reaffirms my love. All right, let's get to some lightning rounds so Daddy can make some lineups. Varejao, DeAndre, or Drummond at center on FanDuel?
Drummond.
Give me Jordan, then Drummond, then Varejao. Let's see. Webster, Lee, or Chalmers on DraftKings punt. For me, that's Webster all day.
Yeah. I like Heinrich more, though.
Okay, fair enough. Dunleavy or Chalmers?
Ooh, Chalmers, I guess. Dunleavy sucks.
Yeah. Colin, why are you giving us these bad options today? Making us choose, which do you like more, fruitcake or
balls in your mouth?
Ham sandwich with no mayonnaise? That just kind of came to me. I don't really have a basis for that analogy. Millsap versus the Heat. I just don't think you have to. Let's see. People talking about LMA, and that's pretty much it. So there you go. Done with the show. Davis, I want to just do a close-up of you. You look so good compared to when you woke up. I wish I could pull a screen cap when you first woke up.
I'm sure you can. I rolled over, saw the DM back from you. I still have the shit on my hands from last night. It's a mess.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and end the show now so you can wash that off and get all clean.
I don't have time to wash things off. I got lineups to make.
Faux show. All right. Well, we will holla at you later. Next week, we'll definitely have Grant back on the show again. He was in a meeting, but he wanted to let people know that he was all in on Mello and the Booze Cruise. So,
of course he is.
Big surprise there. Tomorrow, we'll have you on again, Davis, as well as Knapp. That will be a fun show. And, so good start to the week with the early games today. Happy birthday to Drew Dinkmeyer, and happy MLK Day to all. And we will see you later.
Later, everybody.